Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome to Words. I'm Jen, I'm a speech pathologist, and today I'm going to be talking about a strategy that we can use at home to promote language and to motivate children to use their language. This strategy is called using communicative temptation. Communicative temptation is just us manipulating the environment to try to tempt the child to communicate. So some of you may have children or know children that are very prompt dependent. So they wait and rely on us to somehow ask them a question or to provide them with desired items. They need to be prompted to initiate, they need to be prompted to say something or use a sign or a gesture. They may really want something, but they might not initiate that request. And these children might need a little bit more motivation to do so. This motivation piece is the piece that's missing. So here's how we introduce it. We're going to think about location of items. We're going to think about the types of items and the features that they have. And we're going to think about how we present those items. So think about how you're playing at home with your child. Does your child have a toy room or a space where their toys are laid out all over the floor for them? Many of us have this situation going on at home. However, it's not the best for promoting spontaneity of language or initiation of communication. What I would suggest is to try to organize those toys and place them in areas that the child might not be able to gain access to very easily. We still want the child to see the item because we want them to have the motivation to use it or to gain access to it. However, if it's right in their reach, they have no reason to initiate communication with us, right? They don't have a reason to go ask you, Mommy, I want the doll, Mommy, I want the car. Or if they're not at the level of speech yet, verbal language, they might just grab it instead of pointing at it. We want them to point. That's a really important skill, initiating communication and showing us their intent. So again, let's put our toys somewhere on a shelf, if possible. Let's pretend that this is a much higher shelf. And the child is small, but they can still see exactly what this item is. They might come over, you might see them reaching for it, but there's your opportunity to prompt them. So this is where the adult comes in, and we want to make sure that we provide the models and support that's needed. If the child does not yet know how to point, well, we're gonna take their hand and we're gonna do hand over hand and help them to isolate their finger and point to the item. So for instance, we're gonna take their hand and point and say, oh, you want the box. Okay, you want the box, and take it down and give it to them. If they are at the level of signing, you want them to initiate that way. If they're using a device, initiate on the device, I want. And if they are verbal, they can label the item or they can use a sentence to request it. It doesn't matter what level your child is at. Whichever way that they can communicate, that's where we're going to meet them, and that's the type of response that we want from them. The other type is how we present toys. So what I really like to do is to keep my toys in a bag or a box that is transparent. So in here I have some wooden fruits that are Velcroed together, and the children love playing with toys like this. They're very simple, and the child can cut the Velcro fruit. So the child gets to see the item, but they can't yet get to it because I have it in a bag sealed. Now, this is providing the motivation for them to request it. So say you give the pretend knife to the child, and they really want to cut one of these fruits. We're going to hold it up in front of them, and we're going to tempt them to communicate. You might say, pear. And then you say, oh, you want the pear, and you immediately reinforce them with that item. Whenever they perform target behavior, which in this case is requesting, we want to immediately reinforce that behavior. That's how we continue the behavior, and that's how we maintain that behavior. So that's a really good idea, keeping items in transparent bags or boxes. So the third factor we're going to cover is the type of item. So when we think about tempting a child to communicate, we have to think about the reasons why they might communicate. One, obviously, they want to gain access to that item. Another one might be that they have the item in their hand, but it's too difficult for them to manipulate. So the goal there is to have them ask for assistance. So we want to request help. This would be great. Some children might not be able to maybe open a bubble container. A really great type of toy for this is wind-up toys, because it's very hard to move your fingers around in that way when you have tiny little hands. Give them the wind-up toy, see what they could do with it. They might get frustrated, or they might hand it to you. That's a way of communicating. But we want them to either gesture, say a word, or use a device to request that help. By providing them an item that you know is going to be difficult for them to use, you're tempting them to communicate, to ask for help, because they really want to use that item. This is also great during mealtime. In the case of promoting language, you can kind of sabotage this environment a little bit, and you can provide your child with, if they're drinking from a juice box, you can provide them the juice box with the straw still attached, and see what they do. If your child is not able to use that straw on their own, they might be tempted to request help. If you give them a box of cereal, a small box of cereal, and they can't open it, then that's a great opportunity for them to then use the word open. So as you can see, we have to try to challenge our children a little bit. We don't want to frustrate them too much. That's not the goal. The goal is not frustration. The goal is initiation. We want to promote initiation and spontaneity. This strategy is very similar to withholding. I have another video on the withholding strategy. So if you watch this video, you may want to jump over to that video as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for stopping by. See you next time.